Good evening, everyone. Imagine waking up one day to find your face plastered all over the internet, not in a way that lifts you up, but in a way meant to tear you down. A joke at your expense. A moment frozen in time, twisted into something ugly. Now imagine the weight of that, the loneliness of it, the hurt. This isn't just about me. This is about everyone who has ever felt reduced to a punchline. Everyone who has seen their struggles turned into entertainment for people who don't know their story. But here's the thing. We don't have to let pain have the final word. There was a time in my life when I felt like I had no control over the narrative of my own existence. A single moment captured and taken out of context became something else entirely, something I never intended. It spread across the internet like wildfire. A joke to millions, but a wound to me. I remember seeing my own face staring back at me from a screen, accompanied by words that were never mine, a message that twisted my reality into something laughable. At first I tried to ignore it. I told myself it didn't matter, that the internet moves fast and something new would come along to take its place. But it didn't disappear. It followed me. It showed up in conversations, in comments, in the eyes of people who recognized me not for who I was, but for what they had seen. I was no longer a person. I was content, a meme, a joke. And no one stopped to ask how that felt. Behind the screen, I struggled. I wrestled with the weight of it all, with the voices in my head telling me that maybe this was all I'd ever be. It wasn't just the meme itself. It was what it represented. It was the reminder of old wounds, of battles fought in silence, of the times I had questioned my own worth. It was the confirmation of fears I had tried so hard to silence. There were dark days, days when getting out of bed felt impossible, when the world outside seemed too heavy to face. And in those moments, I wondered, if people knew what I was going through, would they still laugh? If they knew the thoughts I was battling, would they still share that image so casually? The truth is, most of them never considered it. Most of them never thought beyond the screen, because that's what the internet does. It creates distance. It turns people into ideas, into pixels, into something less than human. But I am human. I always was. And so are the millions of people who find themselves in similar situations, who see themselves turned into punchlines, who feel the weight of words that were never meant to be kind. And that's why I knew I had a choice. I could let this break me, or I could take back the narrative. I could let this define me, or I could redefine it. So I spoke up. I turned my pain into purpose. I took something that was meant to tear me down and used it to lift others up. I shared my story, not because it was easy, but because I knew someone out there needed to hear it. And in doing so, I learned something powerful. When you reclaim your story, you take away its power to hurt you. You turn it into something bigger than yourself. You turn it into hope. And hope, even in the darkest moments, is what saves us. A single image, a few words, that's all it takes to change someone's perception of another person. In the digital world we live in, pictures and phrases spread faster than we can control, shaping narratives, reinforcing stereotypes, and sometimes causing damage that can't be undone. What might seem like a harmless joke to one person can be a heavy burden for another. When a meme is shared, it's rarely seen as more than a fleeting moment of amusement. But behind every image is a real person with real experiences, real struggles, and real emotions. The internet, however, has a way of stripping that humanity away. A carefully chosen caption can turn an ordinary expression into something entirely different, creating a false reality that the world believes without question. Suddenly, the person in the image isn't a person anymore. They're an idea, a joke, a representation of something they may never have intended. And once that perception takes hold, it's nearly impossible to undo. Words have weight. They have the power to uplift, to inspire, to comfort, but they also have the power to cut deep. A single cruel sentence can linger in someone's mind long after it was typed. A seemingly innocent joke can echo in the thoughts of the person it targets, feeding self-doubt, shame, and pain. And when those words are repeated, shared, and turned into something inescapable, they become more than just words. They become a force, one that can break a person's spirit. It's easy to forget that not everyone sees the joke the same way. What seems funny from one perspective can be a reminder of deep insecurities for someone else. A comment about appearance, weight, or expression may tap into wounds that have already been difficult to heal. And when thousands, sometimes millions of people pile on, that wound is ripped open again and again. It can leave someone feeling isolated, misunderstood, and completely alone in their struggle. The reality is we don't always know what someone is going through. We don't see the battles they fight behind closed doors, the silent struggles that never make it to the surface. For some, a single harmful meme or comment might be the final push toward a place they've been desperately trying to avoid. Mental health is fragile, and in a world where online interactions can feel so detached from real consequences, we often forget just how much damage a few careless words can do. But just as words and images have the power to harm, they also have the power to heal. A shift in perspective, a conscious effort to spread kindness instead of cruelty, can make all the difference. When we choose to use our words to support rather than tear down, when we think twice before turning someone else's moment into a joke, we help create a world where people feel seen, valued, and safe. And sometimes that choice, the choice to be compassionate rather than careless, can be the one thing that saves a life. There's an unspoken rule in society that tells us to keep our struggles hidden, to smile when we're breaking inside, to act like everything is fine, even when it's not. When it comes to mental health, the world has made it clear. Talking about it makes people uncomfortable. Admitting that you're struggling is seen as weakness. Asking for help is viewed as failure. And because of this stigma, countless people suffer in silence, convinced that their pain is something to be ashamed of. This stigma doesn't come from nowhere. It's reinforced every time someone dismisses depression as just a phase, or tells someone battling anxiety to calm down. It grows stronger when we label people as weak for struggling, when we roll our eyes at those who speak openly about their pain, and it thrives in the jokes we make, the memes we share, the casual way we mock those who are visibly fighting battles we can't understand. The reality is, mental illness doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care about success, wealth, or social status. It affects people from all walks of life, from the ones you expect to struggle to the ones you'd never suspect. Yet even though so many people experience it, we still act like it's something rare, something shameful, something that should be kept in the dark. The problem with this silence is that it isolates people even further. When someone is drowning in depression, the last thing they need is to feel like they're the only one. When someone is battling suicidal thoughts, they don't need to be told to get over it. What they need is understanding. What they need is the freedom to speak without fear of judgment. Breaking the stigma means changing the way we talk about mental health. It means treating it with the same seriousness as physical health. No one would tell someone with a broken leg to just walk it off. So why do we expect someone with depression to simply think positive? No one would laugh at someone having an asthma attack, so why do we turn panic attacks into punchlines? Every time we dismiss someone's pain, we reinforce the idea that struggling is something to be ashamed of. But the truth is, struggling is human. Asking for help is human. And no one should have to fight their battles alone just because the world refuses to understand them. It's time to change the narrative. It's time to create a world where people feel safe talking about their mental health, where seeking help is seen as strength, not weakness. It starts with us. with the way we listen, with the way we respond, with the way we choose compassion over judgment. Because at the end of the day, no one should have to suffer in silence. And if we can break the stigma, we can save lives. The way a story is told shapes how it is understood. The way a person is portrayed influences how they are perceived. And too often, those who struggle with mental health are defined by their worst moments. Society has a habit of taking pain and turning it into something shameful, something to be hidden. But the truth is, the narrative around mental health doesn't have to be one of weakness, failure, or isolation. It can be one of resilience, hope, and strength. When someone is mocked, whether through a meme, a joke, or careless words, they are often reduced to that single moment. The complexity of their experience is erased, leaving behind only what others choose to see. A person who is fighting a silent battle becomes nothing more than a punchline. And when the world only acknowledges someone in that way, it can feel like there is no space to be anything else. But what if we could take control of the narrative? What if, instead of allowing our struggles to define us, we redefined what they meant? A meme intended to humiliate can become a platform for awareness. A painful experience can become a source of strength. A moment of suffering can be turned into a message that helps others feel less alone. Reframing the narrative isn't about pretending the pain didn't exist. It isn't about ignoring the hurt or dismissing the harm that was done. It's about reclaiming the story. It's about shifting the focus from victimhood to empowerment, from stigma to understanding. It's about refusing to let the world dictate the meaning of our experiences and choosing instead to give them purpose. This shift in perspective doesn't just help the person at the center of the story, it helps everyone who has ever felt the same pain. When someone speaks out and turns their hardship into advocacy, they give others permission to do the same. They remind people that they are not alone, that their struggles are not something to be ashamed of, and that their pain does not define them. The internet has an incredible ability to spread messages, but it's up to us to decide what kind of messages we amplify. We can choose to perpetuate harmful narratives, or we can choose to rewrite them. Instead of sharing content that degrades someone, we can support messages that uplift. Instead of laughing at someone's pain, we can listen to their story. Instead of allowing negativity to shape the conversation, we can lead it in a different direction. Reframing the narrative is a choice. It's the decision to take what was meant to harm and turn it into something meaningful. It's the act of taking back power, not just for ourselves, but for everyone who has ever been made to feel small. And when we do that, when we shift the way we talk about mental health, about struggle, about survival, we don't just change one story, we change the world. Empathy is one of the most powerful tools we have as human beings. It allows us to connect, to understand, and to see beyond our own experiences. But in a world where online interactions are often fleeting and impersonal, empathy is sometimes left behind. The ability to instantly share content, make comments, and react to posts has created a culture where words and images are used without much thought about the people behind them. Responsibility, both online and in real life, is often ignored in favor of entertainment, trends, or temporary amusement. And yet, the impact of those choices can be lasting. When we scroll through social media, it's easy to see an image or a meme and laugh without thinking about its origin. It's easy to share something that seems funny without asking whether it might be harmful. But behind every meme, every joke, every viral moment is a real person with real emotions. What might be entertainment for one person could be deeply painful for another. And too often, we don't consider how our actions, especially in digital spaces, affect the mental health of others. Empathy requires us to pause. It asks us to put ourselves in someone else's position, to imagine how we would feel if we were in their shoes. It challenges us to think beyond the screen, beyond the comment section, beyond the temporary nature of online trends. If we wouldn't want to be mocked, ridiculed, or turned into a joke, then we shouldn't allow it to happen to others. The internet should not be a place where people's struggles are turned into entertainment at their expense. Responsibility goes hand in hand with empathy. It means recognizing that our words and actions matter. It means understanding that what we say, post, and share has consequences even if we don't see them immediately. When we participate in spreading something hurtful, we contribute to a culture that normalizes cruelty. And when we choose kindness instead, we help create a space where people feel safe, valued, and respected. There is a simple but powerful truth. Every interaction we have, whether online or in person, has the potential to either lift someone up or push them down. A supportive message can make someone's day better, just as a cruel comment can make it worse. A moment of thoughtfulness before sharing something can prevent unnecessary pain. A small act of kindness can remind someone that they are not alone.